Welcome to another episode here, and today we're going to take a look at Lucid stock, and I'm going to give you some price predictions and just kind of some of the action that's going on to give you some taste of what's happening in the marketplace. All right, keep in mind none of these are recommendations, buy, sell, or trade, just my own personal thoughts and opinions. All right, so let's kick things off. If we look at Lucid here, it's basically a luxury car related thing. If you're looking at this video, you probably know and understand these things. Ultimately, as a trader and as you look at trading, you really don't care what the stock is. It's just a 3 to 4 letter ticker symbol, and you're just looking for price action if people are getting into it from a trading perspective, right? From an investing standpoint, it's a whole different ball game, because investing perspective, you're looking usually 1 year time horizon or further. So as we take a look at just kind of what's going on here in the marketplace of Lucid, I'm going to go into some of the charts and give you some analysis. So the stock basically kind of opened up here with its IPO. Not much happened for a little while, so you got sideways consolidation. And now we've got some of this mumbo jumbo going on, which is really not anything useful except this big point right here. After this big run up, we've got this double top that happened. And that's really kind of the key that you were looking at from a longer term perspective. So really, as you start looking at charts, you need to look at, am I a longer term person, medium term, or am I looking for the stock for the shorter term? From a longer term perspective, this stock's got some problems at 60s. Okay, so if you're longer term, that's the question, because every video that you probably watch, nobody's going to tell you, hey, well, what time frame are you looking at? So you got to think about this first. Longer term perspective, you're going to have trouble at 60. So you may want to wait for that to clear if you're more cautious. If you're more aggressive, you don't have to wait for it to clear. You could get in it at any point. Now, that's from the longer term. The support here also is around $20. So you're looking at here, that's again longer term. This would be a really good buy at around 20, because you see support coming in from May, September, October, right around that $20. Now you can see as we get into the kind of this weekly chart, the stock had sideways consolidation. This is the way it typically behaves. It's got consolidation, it's building energy momentum, just like a car. We're building, gassing, and then boom, explodes, rockets off the line. And that's what happened here. You can see huge volume picked up. There's a lot of volume speed there. And when you really just look at it, let me not truncate the volume, you had some good increase that came in. Now, when we look at the shorter term, right? If you're a shorter term, like, you're trading it day to day or week to week, now you're starting to look, okay, well, should I get it now? Well, again, here's our uptrend that happened. There's that double top that we had some trouble. So stock pulled back, and now we're getting this sideways action again. So there's that sideways action. And now are we going to get that explosion up again? You're starting to see some little key signs, right? The explosion, the revving, the acceleration starts to happen slowly. It doesn't happen right away. It happens a little bit at a time. And then you start gassing, and then eventually the rocket explodes, right? It's kind of like a countdown. So that's kind of what's happening, is that this turnaround is starting to get there. The question is are we going to get back up here and roll back over? Nobody knows about that. That just depends on the consolidation over the longer time frame. But if you're trying to look at, hey, am I buying this on kind of a nice dip? Well, let me give you some Fibonacci analysis. This is just some basic typical standard retracements. So if you look at this 61.8 analysis, you can see it's coming right in from the swing lows of when it started to make its move to the highs. You can see the pullback is normal and healthy, and all that tells you is just the typical wave patterns of stocks. So here we're coming right into that support. It's digesting. A lot of people probably panic during this movement right here. But this is just typical and normal and healthy for a stock to kind of do these kinds of motions. If you're looking at longer time frames, not everybody looks at longer time frames. They're looking at kind of like a daily for you. But that's why we look at also the weekly and the monthly. And now you can see it's starting to break above that $42 level and starting to try and make its way higher. Can it come back and retest those levels? Yes, absolutely. So as we start looking at this and zooming in a little bit more, let's even go to 195 minute. Why 195? Why 130 or 65 minutes? Because it breaks down into the chart evenly. There's no like half bars or third of a bars. So here you see what's happening is this volume is starting to pick up some speed. You're starting to see some key indicators. There's some buyers starting to step in. So you're starting to see some of those come in, and you started to see this the other day here, about last week, coming in. They tried to break, but it couldn't hold, and now it's again a reattempting. So you're starting to see some buyers coming in. There's your resistance, so it's starting to kind of clear that area. So if you're looking for kind of this trend upward on a kind of a curvature where the stock is starting to turn around, that downward move that we had down here, then this is kind of what you're looking for. But again, this is on a shorter time frame. On the longer time frame, you have to think about it and say, hey, yes, I do know that I've got resistance and problems around this $55, $60 level where you probably should start taking profits. So if the stock does move to the upside, this is where you get out. That would be the stop out point, because you take some profits. If you had 100 shares, you might go ahead and take off half. So then you'll be left with like 50 shares. And on the downside, you're really looking at this key level of about $35 a share right now, where, hey, you got to give it a little wiggle room, because that's kind of a critical support level. If you're really tight on your stop, you could just give it kind of this support level here, but there's a little bit of a chop here that's going on. It's just starting to break that level. So if you're really tight, that's fine, but give it enough room to kind of push its way through this, so that way you have enough cushion or budget for this whole consolidation, because there's going to be a lot of buyers right there that'll support that stock. So if you can't trade with that large of a stop, maybe trade less shares. If you can't do it that way, then go ahead and maybe do, instead of 100 shares at the beginning, start with 10. And if you see it the next day or two, then add another 10. And then maybe add, like, if you get a confirmation, you could add, the rest of your position, and then you get your full 100 shares if you're looking to trade 100 shares. So anyways, that's my thoughts here as far as the basic analysis here on Lucid. It's starting to, make its way a little bit again after this, recent breakout. But remember, you had this downward move, and you're going to have some trouble at around 60. But from a trading perspective, you're starting to see some key signs where the stock is starting to pick up some speed. Of course, this rides on the back of things like Tesla. So if you can get a lot of the motor companies here pushing further and higher, that can also fuel the stock. So watch kind of this and see if this is going up. And you can also take a look at things like NEO as well, auto. So if they all kind of move together, then what you'll see is, hey, look, there's that support similar. And if you can start getting all of them moved together, you'll probably see the same thing with Lucid Motors pushing into the upside. So anyways, thanks for joining me. You can see my alert here went off for that exact kind of movement and price action, which I have right over here. So that's why I also decided to make a video about this. All right, thanks for joining me. Enjoy the rest of the week ahead, and I will see you in the next episode.